A machine that has literally never felt a heartbreak, never sat alone in a dark, sweaty club, and certainly never felt the quiet relief of a peaceful morning. Well, it just perfectly synthesized all three. Welcome to this deep dive on Hellcat's King of the Hill podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, today we are immersing ourselves in the top 3 winning tracks from the latest AI music community competition. And to understand how this technology is mirroring human emotion, we really have to look at how these artists are pushing it.
Right, because it's a completely different paradigm for creation now.
Exactly. We are tracing a journey from the darkest, most defensive outer layers of the psyche straight down into pure, unfiltered vulnerability.
Yeah, we aren't just looking at who can play an instrument anymore. We're looking at who can navigate the vast, mathematical architecture of an algorithm to extract a profoundly human experience.
I love that way of putting it. And to guide our deep dive today, we are anchoring everything around one core theme that jumped out from the master document provided by the community. That theme is global rhythm synthesis and the intimacy of the latent space.
Yeah, it's such a crucial concept.
It really is. Now, the latent space is a term we throw around a lot on the show. But for you listening right now, when we say latent space, we're talking about that multidimensional map where an AI stores every concept it has ever learned.
Right.
What this theme highlights is the capability of these artists to take historically disparate global genres like UK garage, Afro garage, neo-psychedelia, Kuduro, dream pop, and just splice them together.
And it's important to understand how that splicing actually works. The AI, it doesn't see geographical boundaries or historical eras.
No, not at all.
It doesn't know that London and Angola are thousands of miles apart. It just sees sonic relationships and mathematical proximity. But here is the critical part, and this connects right back to the listener. This is not just some technical flex. The artists we are looking at today, they aren't mashing up genres just to prove they have a massive sonic vocabulary.
Yeah.
They are using these highly complex international soundscapes to frame incredibly intimate, vulnerable human moments.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're going to count down the winners in reverse order, starting with third place, moving to second, and then spending the bulk of our time on the flawless first place champion.
That's perfect.
So, starting at that defensive outer layer we mentioned, our entry point is the third place track, which scored an impressive 84.5 out of 100. It's called Lone Wolf Criminal, and that's the Ghost Afro Garage mix by the artist I Am Ghost.
A really fascinating track.
Totally. And what's wild to me is how they achieved that score through sheer restraint. Like, looking at their style prompts, they relied on just 3 highly specific underground club tags: UK Bass House, UK Garage, and Dark Two-Step.
Right, which is a masterclass in minimalism, honestly. And that is actually incredibly difficult to pull off in AI generation.
It is, because you just want to keep adding things.
Exactly. When you have an engine capable of generating literally any sound in recorded human history, the temptation is always to throw everything at the wall.
Right. If you're listening and you've ever tried prompting an image or music generator, you know the exact frustration of asking for way too much and getting a garbled, muddy mess.
Precisely.
Yeah.
In the latent space, if you give a neural network too many conflicting vectors, it tends to just average them out.
Just gray noise.
Yeah, it spreads its probabilistic weights across too many variables, and you end up with exactly that, sonic gray noise. By restricting the AI to those 3 dark, driving UK underground styles, I Am Ghost didn't just ask for a beat, they created a highly focused aperture.
It's like a noir film, almost. Instead of a scattered floodlight illuminating a whole room, they narrowed the beam down to this stark, high-contrast focal point. I mean, sometimes just a few dark shadows are enough to define a whole character.
That's a great analogy.
And the production quality is razor sharp. This sleek, driving, relentless rhythm, it acts as a canvas for this undeniable international espionage vibe.
And that laser focus acts as an incredibly tight canvas for the narrative, too. They layered in a bilingual vocal flow that keeps the listener completely off balance.
The vocals are so good.
The track is primarily Spanish, but then it cuts into a very sharp English rap verse. Let's look at how they structure the opening. They wrote, Lobo solitario, culpable así es, soy un criminal.
Yeah, lone wolf. Guilty, that's right, I'm a criminal. It's so direct. And then that English shift drops in later. Every clue you find just sends you astray, chasing shadows while I fade away.
It's classic cat and mouse.
It is. But wait, I have a question here. You mentioned the intimacy of the latent space earlier. How does a cold, dark UK two-step beta sound, historically designed for, like, Anonymous, packed warehouse clubs. How does that translate to personal intimacy? It feels like the opposite.
But that is exactly the point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they are utilizing the inherent anonymity of those club genres to explore the anonymity of a criminal alter ego. The repetition in the track, the way it just loops, manos arriba, sin dejarse nada.
Hands up, leaving no trace.
Right. They are using the mathematical proximity of dark club sounds to the concept of secrecy to build a deeply personal confession, but it's masked as a club banger. The defense mechanism itself is the intimacy.
Wow, that makes total sense. They are basically a rogue persona hiding in plain sight. But as we know, you can't live behind an alter ego forever, right?
Oh, no, eventually it fractures.
Exactly. Eventually that external defense mechanism cracks, and you are forced to deal with the internal conflict happening underneath. Which brings us to our next track, and it sounds entirely different.
The contrast in prompt engineering here is staggering.
It really is. Earning a massive 94.8 out of 100, our second place track is Inner Flame, the DarthLobster x MadCat mix by DarthLobster. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to read off the sheer density of their prompt architecture. They ask for neo-psychedelia, melodic trap, neurofunk, alt R&B, and cloudgaze.
That is a wild clash of genres.
Right. And the instrumentation is wildly specific. They demanded wash electric guitars with reverb, deep 808 sub-bass, snarling modulated neurobass, soft organ, and dreamy ambient synth pads.
That's a lot.
Let me just stop right there because, I have to ask you this. Doesn't a prompt this dense run the risk of completely confusing the AI engine into making a muddy mess, like you said earlier?
It absolutely does run that risk.
Because I understand typing in Cloudgaze and getting a hazy sound, but Neurofunk and Cloudgaze are mortal enemies on the frequency spectrum. Neurofunk is aggressive, hyper-technical, and demands the entire low end. Cloudgaze is weightless and drifting. How does the AI process both without just crashing?
Well, what's fascinating here is understanding that the extreme sonic contrast isn't a mess. It's a deliberate architectural marvel.
Okay, how so?
If you just throw those terms into a prompt indiscriminately, you'll absolutely get mud. It's like a chemical suspension, oil and water.
Right.
Neurofunk is your heavy oil, Cloudgaze is your water. If you just shake them up, they separate into a mess. You need an emulsifier to bind them.
Okay, so what is DarthLobster's emulsifier in this case?
It's the underlying emotional tempo and the alt R&B melodic structure. The AI perfectly balances the hazy drifting of Cloudgaze against the aggressive low end of Neurofunk to critically mirror the lyrical narrative.
Oh, wow.
DarthLobster used the AI to engineer a space where the aggressive, snarling neurobass physically represents the crushing expectations of the outside world.
And the dreamy guitars represent the inside.
Exactly. The washed electric guitars represent the internal, vulnerable soul trying to survive it. The AI doesn't blend them into one sound, it layers them in a hostile standoff, held together by the vocal melody.
The music itself is physically fighting the same battle the lyrics are describing.
Yes. The profound emotional impact of the lyrics details a deeply internal struggle of guarding one's free will against these crushing societal expectations. They write, "The line between surrender and compromise gets blurrier each time I close my eyes."
Man, that is a heavy line. You can physically feel the weight of that compromise in the 808 sub-bass. The massive, heavy production perfectly frames the intimacy of the chorus.
Let's look at that chorus. I guard the fire, hold it close and tight. If it goes out, I lose myself tonight.
So the prompt engineering, that chemical suspension of extreme frequencies, forces the listener to feel the exact anxiety of trying to keep that inner flame alive.
Right.
You have this massive, churning sonic hurricane of neurofunk tearing at the edges of the mix, but the core alt R&B melody stays completely protected in the center. I just have deep respect for how DarthLobster used complex AI engineering to articulate such a vulnerable human condition.
It really proves that the latent space can handle extreme contradictions, provided the human operator gives it the right structural anchor.
Yeah.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, this intense internal battle requires an immense amount of energy. Eventually, the hurricane passes, the fire survives, and what you are left with is the delicate aftermath.
Which brings us to the most incredible piece of music in the entire competition.
Without a doubt.
Earning a flawless, perfect score of 100 out of 100, the King of the Hill is the track Les Otra by MadCat.
A perfect score is not something this community gives out lightly. It demands perfection on every conceivable level.
And MadCat delivered an absolute masterclass, not just in emotional storytelling, but in hardcore music theory. They didn't just ask for a generic sad vibe or an upbeat tempo.
No, they went much deeper.
They explicitly dictated jazz chord colors to the AI. They demanded an A minor with a C major lift, explicitly writing out AM9, Famage 7, C Maj 9, and G6 chords in their prompt. Plus, they forced the AI into a wildly complex rhythmic structure.
Yeah, blending a relaxed halftime feel with double-time Kuduro syncopation, which is just an incredible conceptual leap.
It's like giving a Michelin star chef highly specific, intensely bold global flavors like gospel house piano, ambient vocal pads, African Kuduro percussion, dream pop.
And balancing them perfectly.
Exactly, trusting them to balance the chemistry so perfectly they create something entirely new and soothing. But wait, I need to challenge this a bit.
Okay, go for it.
I hear what you're saying about the chords and the rhythm, but I'm struggling to buy that an algorithm actually understands the nostalgic wistfulness of an Famage 7 chord or the relief of a halftime beat. Isn't it just predicting the next mathematical sequence? It doesn't actually feel the relief, right?
Well, you're right that it doesn't feel it. It is entirely mathematical. But think about what that math represents.
Okay.
The AI's training data includes millions of songs. Historically, whenever human beings have recorded a song about wistful nostalgia or the complex relief of surviving a trauma, they have mathematically gravitated towards certain intervals, like the Famage 7, and certain rhythmic pockets.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So the AI is mapping the mathematical coordinates of human relief. MadCat didn't just write a chord progression. They gave the AI the exact GPS coordinates in the latent space for healing.
That is mind-blowing, and the result is so incredibly soothing. This track is the ultimate realization of our core theme today.
Absolutely.
The artist takes this lush, highly sophisticated global rhythm synthesis and uses it to tell a story of quiet, mundane, domestic healing. The lyrics are stunningly vulnerable. The song opens with Desperté antes del sol, sin miedo junto al umbral. I woke up before the sun, without fear by the threshold.
It's such a pure image.
And then, por primera vez en meses, no espero otro mal. For the first time in months, I didn't expect another bad thing to happen. If you're listening right now, think about that exact elusive feeling when a long, drawn-out crisis in your life is finally over. Your nervous system just settles.
And notice how the AI engine translates that lyrical exhaustion into the timing of the vocals. They drag just slightly behind the beat, sounding exactly like someone who has finally stopped running and can just breathe.
Yes, and the most profound moment is in the second verse. Deje platos en el fregadero, los deje para después. Leaving dishes in the sink for later.
Such a simple, profound act of healing.
No me hable con dureza, por cansarme alguna vez. I didn't speak to myself harshly for getting tired sometimes. They use the most advanced generative technology on the planet to sing about the profound act of letting the dishes sit there.
That is exactly why this track won a perfect score. MadCat grounded massive, sophisticated AI production in pure, fragile human vulnerability. They captured the exact, delicate moment of finding the light again.
Tengo luz otra vez, se aflojo el peso en mí.
I have light again, the weight on me loosened. Doing all of this while African shakers, warm gospel organs, and dream pop synths are swelling in the background. It doesn't sound like a machine made it.
Not at all.
It sounds like a human heart translated directly into sound waves.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean? We've traced a remarkable journey today.
We really have.
We started with a dark club alter ego, moved to a heavy internal battle for free will, and ended with the quiet healing of a morning coffee and unwashed dishes in the sink. I just have profound respect for these artists and the AI generation process itself. It is a new frontier of expression. We are seeing artists navigate a vast, unfeeling mathematical void to synthesize the most intimate corners of the human soul, which honestly raises an important question.
Ooh, a final thought for us to mull over.
Exactly. We've just seen how brilliantly AI can reverse engineer our deepest emotional coordinates based on the prompts these artists carefully crafted and published.
Right.
But what happens when we think about the latent space of the prompts we don't publish?
Oh, wow.
If the algorithm is this adept at mapping our vulnerabilities, our fears, and our healing based on text, what does that mathematical landscape look like when it maps our collective subconscious? What is the AI actually learning about the human condition from the millions of abandoned private prompts typed into the dark every single night? Are we teaching it, or is it teaching us how to be more human?
That is a fascinating, slightly terrifying thought to leave on. If the latent space is a mirror, what happens when it reflects the things we aren't brave enough to share?
Yeah.
Well, that is all the time we have for our deep dive today. Thank you for listening to Hellcat's King of the Hill podcast. Make sure to check the description to hear the full tracks and join the server if you want to play in King of the Hill.